Okay, I want to check this out because I literally started stream just to talk about the Joker and all that. We checked out Penguin's last video on the Joker 2, and he uploaded one 12 hours ago. Now, the thumbnail, I saw that it's not doing, number wise, is not doing good. It's not doing good whatsoever, money wise. So let's check it out.
Joker 2 is a bad movie. I'd even go as far as saying it's a horrible film.
And I promise. Did he say it's a bad movie? But not only that, it's a horrible movie. Did he just say that? Anyways, I promise I won't make this double the amount.
Joker 2 is a bad movie. I'd even
Time-wise.
go as far as saying it's a horrible film. But I didn't expect it to flop nearly as hard as it currently is. This is pathetic, the numbers it's putting up in the box office right now. This is the Concorde of movies. The studio stands to lose roughly $150 million based on the estimates right now if the
Here's a little title for this video. Old man returns to baby rage and knock off Jesus Christ shitting on Joker sequel again.
projections keep being followed. It is disastrous. I thought
Was it bad? Genuinely, it was the best movie I've seen this year.
no matter how terrible this film was, it would still do well in the box office because it had such a large fan base that I thought would go see it no matter what, just to give it a chance. Nope, that wasn't the case at all. If you needed to escape
Like,
from
genuinely,
authorities and
dude, I wouldn't be well, I've probably been streaming in total of 2 hours or so, just discussing about the Joker stuff. But you know, since internet issues.
a place to lay low, buy a ticket to Joker 2, no one would ever check that auditorium. No one is going there. Those theaters are more empty than the room Squidward goes to.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the theater was pretty empty. Yeah. I think it was like 10% of the seats were filled. Not even that, probably like 5% of the seats were filled.
Be all alone in the void. It's bad. Also,
And there is like, I think this was released last Friday. It's been what, 4 days or so?
reference with Squidward a lot.
5 days?
That's just something that's always in my noodle. That's probably still one of my favorite scenes in SpongeBob. But anyway, right now, Joker 2 has opened to a $37.8 million box office domestically, which is actually lower than Morbius. What great company to have right there. It has done worse than Morbius so far.
That's crazy.
Now, globally, Joker 2 has brought in about 114 million, which isn't the smash success they were expecting it.
Wait, what?
Brought in about done worse than Morbius so far. Now, globally, Joker 2 has brought in about 114 million, which isn't
114 million. And you're saying he's doing bad. You're telling me Morbius got over 114 million?
isn't the smash success they were expecting it to be. That number sounds very high, but with the amount of money they put into it, it's still not doing
But compared to, what was it, 34 million?
well at all. And in the domestic box office, it's horrific. They're starting to realize Joker 2 isn't a tragedy, it's a fucking comedy. Everyone is pointing and laughing at this thing. It super sucks. But not only that, Joker 2 Folie à Deux PU, this is the poop that just keeps on stinking.
Yeah.
Because not only is its box office performance lackluster, it has the lowest cinema score out of any comic book movie ever, at a D. Now, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your butthole pretending that I know everything there is to know about cinema score. This is actually really like one of the few times I've heard of it, so I'm not the most familiar with it, but it's been around for a while and it is a consistent score that pulls moviegoers after.
Dude, whenever I watch a movie and I look at the critics, their shit, I don't give a fuck about what they say because it's not accurate at all in my opinion.
Seeing a movie just to kind of gauge reactions and then they assign a grade to it. And prior to Joker 2, the record holder for lowest cinema score for a comic book movie was Fantastic Four from 2015, which had a C-. That movie is still, to date, one of the most hated comic book movies of all time. And now Joker 2 is below that. That's mind-boggling. And they also put it in another perspective here. Borderlands, which I believe is the worst movie of this year, by far, I think it is significantly worse than Joker 2, actually has a D+, meaning that it has a higher score than Joker 2. And Madam Web, which I believe is one of the worst comic book movies of all time,
Madam Web was absolutely a waste of time to watch, to buy. I should have pirated that shit.
has a C+, so significantly higher than Joker 2. Initially, I just assumed that all cinema scores would like skew on the very low side of things, because when people go see a movie that's bad, like a Madam Web, like a Fantastic Four, like a Joker 2, their initial reaction is obviously going to be anger, like, I wasted money on this is absolute dog shit, thus the cinema scores would always be low. But when I saw
What was going through your head when you thought, I'm gonna buy Madam Web and watch it? The reason why I bought it was because a girl I was dating at that time wanted to watch it, so I was like, okay.
Madam Web had a C+,
I didn't buy it for myself. The fuck?
I realized that that just wasn't really the case. There are people that go see these objectively dog shit films, and they just have dog shit taste that aligns with it, so they liked it. So Madam Web having a C+, you know, it's not always just going to be the most outraged of people every time. Joker 2 is so universally hated by critics and audience alike that even just gauging moviegoers' experiences, you're getting mostly negative without very many positives. So this movie failed on everything it tried to do. I think one of the main contributing factors for everyone's disgust with the film is how a lot of people went into this not even knowing it was a musical. I knew that going.
See, it's people that don't know the first movie. I get why people do not like this one, since they don't know the context. And since, I mean, you should know there's a musical. They've been singing for a long time. Literally, their sponsored fucking ads say that they're gonna do musicals and all that.
Going into it because it had been talked about prior, but if you only went in based on the trailers and based on how much you liked the first one, you would be caught completely off guard by this being a fucking musical. The trailers try their
Yes. That's understandable. If you didn't know it was a musical, it would be weird. Yes, I agree with that.
best to hide that. Like, there's little hints that there might be like some kind of music scene, but there is nothing in the trailers that would have you going into this thinking that you're getting a full-blown fucking Red Alert musical. So
Like, you know, maybe for me it's different because I enjoy watching Phantom of the Opera, and that's a musical. Any other musicals? I don't know anything about them. I just love Phantom of the Opera, and I've been adjusted to that type of movies. So maybe that's why I enjoy this one more compared to others. But at the same time, I love music. Music is everything to me. So I'm able to see how Arthur uses music to, you know, to deal with this shit. So yeah.
a lot of people felt really misled by that, and I imagine that contributed heavily to how much they hated it. Now, I don't agree that Joker 2 Folie à Deux is the worst comic book movie ever. I think that is an absurd claim. There are significantly worse comic book movies, and it is definitely not worse than Borderlands, but I do agree that Joker 2 is the most disappointing movie, most disappointing comic book movie. It is shocking how you'd follow up a movie that was so well regarded, Joker, with this sequel that seemed to really hate the first film. This movie like kind of went out on this vendetta to try and undo everything of the first film, and it just sucks. And even if it didn't have that grudge against the first movie and its success, this film on its own two legs is also trash. It's a terrible plot. It's a really messy clusterfuck of a narrative. Like, nothing really works here. The movie ends in the exact same spot that it begins, with pretty much nothing changing and an abrupt death. It is the least satisfying film ever that has nothing redeeming about it, really, aside from some good performances. And I guess if you really like musicals, there's a couple of songs in there that are just good songs, but even the musicals are lackluster because they don't really tie into the story. It's just unsuccessful with everything that it did, and it did not do much in the first place. I was talking with a buddy of mine about how shit Joker 2 was, and we were just kind of spitballing like what made it so bad and how it even got to that point. And then later he sent me this post from Culture Crave that kind of gives bullet points on how this catastrophe came into existence. So I've heard some of these, but some of them were brand new information. So apparently the idea came to Joaquin Phoenix in a dream. And there's multiple sources that corroborate that little nugget of lunacy. It turns out that it was Phoenix who came up with the idea for the sequel, which came to him in a dream. And he and Phillips brought this idea to former Warner Bros. Chairman Toby Emmerich, according to sources. After one insider was asked who the movie was made for, they responded with 2 words: for Joaquin. That is so silly. I hear that a lot, actually, though. That's a pretty common cliche where if people are asked about something like, how did this come to be? Some people will default to just making up some pretentious nonsense like, oh, it came to me in a dream, actually. I doubt it. I really doubt that. But let's just assume in this case it's real. Joaquin Phoenix had a dream about Joker 2 being a musical. Just keep that a dream, buddy. Like, that's a stupid idea. That's
like, I feel like people think that the Joker is going to be parts of the main storyline. Like, it's not. That's the thing that people need to realize. It's not part of the main storyline. So the first movie is not like other movies that has the Joker in it, where it's showing the origin story, is showing the depressing side, is showing like that his his depressing side. So it's different. I don't know, I'm just tired of explaining myself now.
It's not even something worthy of taking to anyone. That's embarrassing.
So how are they supposed to continue this story, since this is going to be the last one, I'm assuming? So they're grasping at any plot they can to continue making the Joker.
And what's even more
I'll just play the video.
embarrassing is how up his own ass Todd Phillips is, that he thought that that was a great decision, and he thought he knew better than everyone else, so he shunned the rest of the department to do his own thing, because he knew better. He had the billion-dollar blockbuster mega-hit Joker. He can do no wrong. So he ran with this stupid idea that came to Phoenix in a dream. They also apparently tossed around another stupid idea about putting it on Broadway before making it into a film. Though I guess admittedly it would have been better on Broadway than in a movie setting, because at least
Well, the thing about that is that, yeah, you're right that they're technically continuing it with that other person, but I'm talking about in terms of this guy, him being the main Joker, him being the only Joker in DC, but he's not. So
then they could try and make the
and then whatever the Heath Ledger Batman, it continues there, but obviously it's different.
musicals work and weave it more into the actual plot.
I like that. I don't care.
Unfortunately, we were cursed with this film.
I don't care what other people say. I absolutely love this movie, and I really want to rewatch it.
Todd Phillips had free reign with Warner Bros. Wanting him to do his thing, and the film had no test screenings. Because why would you test screen this? Todd Phillips knows what you like. Clearly, he's in your fucking walls. He is in your noodle reading your mind. He's delivering that fire that you've been looking for with Joker sequel. Lady Gaga signed on before the script was finished. That one I don't think is that big of a deal. She is a talented actress, so if she signed on because she was excited for
And
this,
the thing about this movie being a musical, it wasn't like OD musical, like where every dialogue is just them singing. Yeah, there was a bit of songs, a bit of all that, but it wasn't like too much to the point where it's like all they're doing is singing.
Script, even though it wasn't done. I don't think it's that surprising or that big of an issue, but I do imagine she might have some regret with agreeing to do this before seeing the final script, because this has become a joke. Next, the new DC boss, James Gunn, had zero involvement, gave notes, but Todd Phillips didn't use them. Used them for toilet paper, I'm
Thank
sure.
God.
I mean, why would you try and give notes to Todd Phillips? I mean, he's got no blemishes on his resume. He knows how to handle a sequel.
Dude, I was so afraid that James Gunn would cancel this Joker. Thank God he didn't, because, dude, oh my God. Like, literally, this Joker 1, is the main reason why I started getting into DC. Prior to that, I really didn't give a fuck. The Batman movies, I didn't really enjoy as much as other people.
What could you possibly have notes on for Joker Folie à Deux? It's a fucking masterpiece, clearly. God, I don't know a whole lot about Todd Phillips other than his previous work, but his attitude for this
Like Disney movie musical? Like Joker 2, if it was like that? No.
movie is so yucky.
No,
It's
Disney musicals are OD.
so embarrassing just reading about him. The film had a budget of $200 million, which included a $20 million salary for Phoenix, $12 million for Lady Gaga. Not surprising, almost every blockbuster that comes out is in like the $100-200 million.
Yeah, basically all big movies have OD budgets and then they never make a profit for the most part.
Plus ballpark. I imagine this film in the
Like Frozen or something? No, not to that level of singing every fucking second. Not at all.
marketing budget alone adds an additional
Less.
$200 million to that figure.
Like in my opinion, I was like, yes, they're singing some moments, but in my head I was like, oh, it's not really like a musical, like a typical type of musical. It is. They do have some aspects of it, but it's not like too much.
Musical aspects were largely downplayed in marketing, with director Todd Phillips at first insisting it wasn't one. I don't remember Todd Phillips trying to shut that down or anything, put the kibosh on it. For as long as I can remember, the film, since its official announcement, had always had that knowledge revealed that there was a lot of musical elements to it. So I went in with the impression that this was going to be a musical, and I imagine a lot of others did as well. But again, if you just
So it's not a musical. If it has less singing than Disney movies, how the fuck can it be called a musical? I feel like I feel like people or the director or whoever said it from Joker 2 said that to prepare people for what's coming into the movie. And I think it was in an interview they said it's not really a hardcore musical, but there is some musical moments that is going to be in the movie, but it's not like a hardcore musical.
watch the trailers, it doesn't really come across that way. So perhaps Todd Phillips made that conscious decision to hide that fact, because musicals, I mean, especially for fans of the first Joker movie, probably aren't going to be that enticing for this kind of audience. So I imagine that's probably accurate, but I don't recall Todd Phillips trying to downplay it. Christopher Nolan reportedly changed the ending of the first movie because it ended with Phoenix's Joker carving a smile. There was no resistance for the sequel, with Nolan leaving Warner Bros. That was fascinating to me. So apparently, Todd Phillips had actually wanted in the first film him to cut the smile into his face. Christopher Nolan was apparently still with Warner Bros. At the time, so he had say-so here and said, "You're a fucking idiot." No, he shut that shit down real quick. But now that Nolan left Warner Bros., Todd Phillips was left to his own devices again and went hog wild. So, as all of you know by now, the Joker 2 ends with a completely random psychopath who shanks Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in the hallway where the movie begins.
Oh, so in the first movie, it could have just finished off there, and then it could have just been like implying that Joaquin Phoenix was the Heath Ledger Phoenix, or Heath Ledger Joker.
Nothing in this film fucking changes and nothing actually matters in the movie. This random guy abruptly kills him, and then in the background cuts a smile into his face. Just Todd Phillips paying a little disrespect to Nolan here, and the legacy that Nolan built.
Yeah, because if Christopher Nolan didn't do that, then there wouldn't be a Joker 2. It kind of would have felt different if that was the ending.
With that Joker, it's such an insulting thing to
imagine if this movie ended, Joker 2 ended, and he just got killed, and then boom, nothing else happens. That's the end. Like nothing legit happens. There's no like it's not like leading on to something, or like that prisoner that killed him wasn't implying that he was the Heath Ledger, the younger Heath Ledger.
Include here, because it's not well done. It comes out of nowhere, and this whole film is garbage in the first place, so it's just an even bigger waste of time. I understand why Nolan would absolutely not want Phillips to do that. It's also just highly unnecessary and doesn't actually tie into anything, so it's super dumb. But
Yeah,
Since
that would have felt extremely forced.
Nolan wasn't at Warner Bros. At the time, Todd Phillips unfortunately got to do it, and we're all worse off for it. This next one had me giggling. Todd Phillips was secluded on a ranch during the opening weekend. I think he was bracing for the storm. I think he knew that this was not going to be received well. Like, it was already not being highly reviewed from the people that had already seen it. So I imagine he had the inkling that, man, maybe he missed the mark. Or I could be totally wrong. Perhaps this is Todd Phillips just under the impression that his high art speaks for itself, and he wants people to come up with their own conclusions based on the nothing burger he served them. So he isolated himself from the rest of society to give us this chance. But more than likely, he just went to the ranch to just go ahead and tune everything out and count all the money Warner Bros. Dumped on his fucking front porch for this absolutely trash sequel. Film was panned by fans and critics. It currently has a 33% from Rotten Tomatoes critics and a 31% audience score. It has the cinema score of D, lowest ever for a comic book film. Domestically opened with 37.8 million, which is lower than comic book films like Morbius and the Marvels, and it needs 450 million globally to break even, which may lose the studio over 150
450 million to break even?
million, and Warner Bros.
Oh, that's crazy.
Discovery is already in $40 billion of debt. And god damn it, they earned every penny of that debt. Warner Bros. Keeps making the stupidest decisions. I am always surprised to see what new batshit insane idea fucking Zaslav comes up with. Like, every move he makes, he's like the opposite of King Midas, where King Midas would turn things to gold. Zaslav comes around with a cheese touch. He turns everything to actual poop. He is just, I don't know how he even got this position. He is bad at his job. So Warner Bros. Is deep in debt. This is not helping at all. And I just had to talk about it again. You know, Joker 2 is all about musicals and dancing. So you know what? I'll give you one of these. I'll dance on the grave of Joker 2. What a fucking disaster. And it earned it too, man. The movie is bad. The decision making was bad with it. And Warner Bros. Really needs to figure it out because it is getting embarrassing for that whole company. That's about it. See ya.
Yeah, man, good video.